The new church year begins with a wake-up call. Christ is coming soon. Yippee. This morning, before I was even out of bed, I received a text from my daughter Stephanie, saying that she and Alistair were staying in bed this morning because they stayed out a little bit too late last night. Well, to be honest, I might rather have slept in, thank you very much, this morning too. Especially on those Sunday mornings when I seem, on the Saturday nights, early Sunday mornings, when I seem to toss side to side, although totally exhausted. Those late nights, early mornings, when I wake up every 2 minutes, or so it seems. Since I almost fell asleep at my desk earlier this week, since time has so much to do, and so little time to do it in, overwhelmed perhaps that I procrastinate on some of the important jobs I should be doing. It's that time when we get excited, but that very thought of getting excited and energized for Christmas and upcoming services and the birth of Jesus and home communions makes me feel even more tired. Can I hibernate, please, for the next 4 weeks? Through the shortest days of the year, the longest nights, the concerts, the socials, and early mornings and late nights, till Christmas hullabaloo is over and it is done. Can I please hibernate? Thank you. I heard it, yes. In today's readings, both Paul and Jesus challenge us to wake from sleep, for we neither know the day or the hour of the Lord's coming. Isaiah proclaims the day when God will gather all people on the holy mountain and there will be no more war, no more suffering. Yippee. It has been centuries. Please don't wake me now. Well, for the next 4 weeks. Can I not just sleep? Jesus hasn't returned in that big event for 2,000 years, and I don't expect Jesus to come in the next 4 weeks. I'm tired enough to risk missing it. And as for the prophecy of Isaiah, you can wake me when there is no more war and when there is no more suffering. I'm sick of hearing the news, war and rumors of war, the newspaper full of suffering and death. Wake me when everything has been made new. Advent is full of tension. We wait for 4 weeks, hearing and hoping for the Messiah to come, although he became incarnate 2,000 years ago. We watch for, have hope in the promised day of salvation, of trumpets in the sky, of Jesus' grand return, and at the same moment, believe that God is already here and present among us now. This is one of the holiest times in the church year, but we are wrapped up in so much in the world and in season's greetings. It's the darkest time of the year, yet we talk about light, and lots of light in the midst of this darkness. We are supposed to be happy. That's what we're told. But maybe the good cheer going around just gives us a deeper sense of sadness. Is hibernating sounding like a good idea now? At times, Sunday sermons are written to speak to me, and you are invited into that intimate moment when I give myself a pep talk. A few years ago, I reflected, this morning I am a tired person with a sarcastic edge. If I came to church to listen this morning, I would want the preacher to speak through that tiredness, offering hope and rejuvenation, and not be offended if I drifted off into sleep into a quiet place, in this space that invites quiet reflection. I would want to be reminded that one form of God's kingdom slipped into our world in Bethlehem while much of the world was sleeping. And although the world in solemn stillness lay, God's love came to the world anyway. Today, amidst the sleepiness, it is time for me to wake up and wonder at God's redeeming love already at work in the world. This past week, getting up early for morning devotions to prepare for Advent, so that happened half an hour before I usually get out of bed. It encouraged us to wake up to the presence of God, and to do that by doing less, by experiencing wonder and holding on to hope. Although tempted to hibernate, I came to church this morning looking for hope. As I reflect on this, I would want to be reminded that this time of year is the time of year when food banks receive the most food. Gifts are collected for the poor, special dinners are cooked for the homeless, extra care is taken in being generous. And whether this is to compensate for the guilt of overindulgence, it's a sign that human beings have a seed of God's love in them, a wish for God's reign to come, for God's promises to be fulfilled. It's a sign to me to wake up to the wonder of God's redeeming love already at work in the world, to wake up to generosity, a call to give for the sake of others, and an affirmation of the burst of charity that this season creates in the world, even from those who can't articulate that it comes from the love of God. I simply need to hear that salvation is closer to me today than it was yesterday. To open my eyes from sleep just long enough to see and participate in Christ who comes among us, in word and in meal that strengthens our faith in the promises of God. When I'm tired, I simply need to hear that being awake, watching, service, and action are not devoid of taking time to be silent, to rest, to sleep. Being able to hear God say, I love you, without a feeling of guilt when I cannot go and cannot do, when I need to just be still and sleep. I need to hear, too, that I am not alone, that I do not have all the answers and all the gifts and all the talents. The community as a whole has answers and gifts and talents and hope. The good news. I came across a story. It's 397. Ambrose is the governor of northern Italy, and he is preparing himself for baptism. Believe it or not, although not yet a member of the Christian community and church, he is elected bishop of Milan. So Ambrose is baptized, ordained a minister, and consecrated a bishop all on the same day. Okay, you got that right. He was baptized, ordained a minister, and consecrated a bishop on the same day. That's quite the day. This makes me feel a little bit better. I'm sure that St. Ambrose was no more prepared to be bishop than I am to do what it is that I do. Talk about being overwhelmed. And God used Ambrose, despite his lack of experience and that his faith was so new. Not only did Augustine come to Christ because of Ambrose, he was well known for writing hymns and leading people in these hymns. He was once in a church that was secluded, and it was encircled by Gothic soldiers. The entire town had gone to this little church for safety, and Ambrose led them in singing one of the hymns he had written. And they sang as the soldiers stood outside. The soldiers turned away, unwilling to attack a group of people who were singing a hymn to their God. God can use me awake. God can use me asleep, excited, or tired, or baptized, ordained, and consecrated bishop all on the same day. This week, I read the gospel reading from Eugene Peterson's translation of the Message. It's the final words God wishes to speak to us this morning. But make sure that you don't get so absorbed and exhausted in taking care of all your day-to-day obligations, that you lose track of the time and doze off, oblivious to God. The night is about over. Dawn is about to break. Be up and awake to what God is doing. God is putting the finishing touches on the salvation work he began when we first believed. We can't afford to waste a minute. Must not squander these precious daylight hours in frivolity and indulgence, in sleeping around, in dissipation, in bickering and grabbing everything in sight. Get out of bed and get dressed. Don't loiter or linger, waiting until the very last minute. Dress yourself in Christ and be up and about. And in doing this, we spread hope in the world. Amen.